I want to tell you about a couple. I'll call Tom and Linda. I'm changing their names. This is a real couple that came in, but Tom, we'll say, is 62, and Linda just turned 60. Tom has spent 30 years working for the same company, as many of you have. Linda has worked part-time for the last decade while raising their kids and after raising their kids. So they own their own home. They've been saving, and by most measures, they've done everything right. But when they came in to see us, they were stressed. Not because they were in trouble, because they had no idea whether they were okay or not. And they had accounts in 3 different places. They had a 401k from a job that Linda left 8 years ago, still sitting untouched. An IRA that they had opened and never really looked at. They had some money in savings that they weren't sure what to do with. Social Security decisions are looming, and a dream, a real one, as many folks have, of spending their early retirement years, in this case, traveling. They literally wanted to go to Italy, Portugal, Jamaica. They didn't need someone to sell them something like us. They needed someone to put it all on one page and then tell them the truth. And that's what we did. And here is what that process actually looked like across all 6 areas that we look at with every client. And this is where the name 6 Point actually came from. Point 1 is investments, and it's in no particular order, but this is the order that folks come to us in. So I put investments first because most people think that's what financial advisors do all day, is investments, and it is part of what we do. We'll get to the other points in a second. But the first thing that we did was look at the investments, and we looked at everything that they owned all at once. That old 401k, right? It was still invested the same way it was in 2016. It was aggressively invested, and no one ever changed the investments, which it means it grew out of alignment, and no adjustments were made for where they actually are in life now. The IRA that they had was sitting mostly in cash because no one had ever told them what to do with it. So what we did was we consolidated some accounts, we rebalanced, and we built an investment mix that matched their actual timeline, not the timeline of them 15, 20 years ago, or someone that's 40, their timeline now. And we wanted to still invest for growth while they had some runway. So stability, where they need income in the next few years, was important as well. So for the first time to them, their investments were working as a single coordinated strategy instead of 3 separate accounts doing 3 separate things. And my record on this is still 17 different retirement accounts. So if you can beat that, reach out to me. I'd love to hear about it. It's always fun consolidating that many, and it's a very liberating feeling when that's done. Point 2, retirement income. Again, people come to us about investments and then retirement income. How much money do we actually need? Tom and Linda had never actually mapped out where their monthly income would come from in retirement. They knew Social Security was out there, but when? So we ran the numbers, waiting just 2 years, Tom claiming it's 64 instead of 62. And I know some of you say don't do that, but it's going to make sense for them, trust me. It added meaningfully to their lifetime benefit. And then Linda, with her part-time work history, was better positioned to claim earlier and then let Tom's benefit continue to grow. So we built a retirement income plan that layered their Social Security. It took their portfolio withdrawals and then their savings, and we put that into a monthly income stream that they could actually live on with room for the travel that they wanted. So at the end of it, they finally had a number. How much do we need? Where's it going to come from? And it was a real number for them. So point 3 here, risk management. This is the one that nobody wants to talk about until they have to. So Tom had life insurance through his employer, and that's coverage that disappears the day he retired, and Linda had none. And neither of them had thought seriously about long-term care. And we won't get into that too much, but we looked at what they actually needed to protect. If Tom passed away early, could Linda sustain her lifestyle for 25 more years? If one of them needed extended care, would it wipe out everything that they had saved? We've all heard the horror stories. So we put the right coverage in place, not more than they needed and not less. It was right for them at this time. And it's protection that matched their actual life, not some generic policy that they had from years ago. So point 4, taxes. And this is personally where I think things get really interesting. So when we're looking at taxes, a lot of times we will collect 1040s from our clients, so the tax return, run it through an analysis and see where folks can save money or moves they should make today that helps them now and in the future. So Tom, for example, he'd been contributing to his traditional 401k for 30 years. Many of us do that. All pre-tax money, though. What he didn't realize and fully realize was that every dollar he pulled out in retirement would be taxed as ordinary income. And at 75, required minimum distributions, or RMDs, would force him to pull out money whether he needed it or not, potentially pushing him and Linda into a higher tax bracket. Okay. We mapped out a Roth conversion strategy, and this is where we want to gather those 1040s and make sure it matches each client. What that means is we moved a portion of those pre-tax dollars into a Roth over the next few years, and that's what we're mapping out while they are still in a lower tax bracket. What that means is paying some tax now, but to avoid paying it later. Over a 20-year retirement, that difference it's very significant. So tax planning isn't just for April, as we know. For Tom and Linda, it was one of the highest value add conversations we had. Tax planning is great. If we have not gone through that, I highly recommend you talk to folks about getting a tax strategy, not just I hand my taxes over and we file. What's our tax strategy over the next 30 years? So a good advisor and an accountant will help with things like that. Point number 5, estate planning. Tom and Linda had wills. I'll say sort of. They were written when their kids were young. They were named guardians. The named guardians at the time, it no longer makes sense at all. And it just hadn't been looked at since. Again, totally normal. More importantly for them at this point, though, their beneficiary designations were a mess. Tom's old 401k, or Linda's old 401k, I'm sorry, still listed her mother who had passed away. Their IRA listed only Linda as the beneficiary, which it was actually in her name, so that's not how it works. She had her name on the account and as beneficiary. So we walked them through that and then updating everything. The will, the power of attorney, healthcare directives, and we made sure that every account had the right beneficiaries listed because a beneficiary designation, I keep saying this, overrides a will. And that's a detail most people don't find out until it's too late. The last point here, point 6, is custom goals. And this is usually my favorite part. I also enjoy the taxes and estate planning, but point 6 is custom goals. Again, Tom and Linda wanted to travel, not someday down the road. They wanted to travel in the first 5 to, we'll call it 7 years of retirement while they were healthy and they had the energy to actually do it. So going back to the Portugal, Italy, Jamaica, Montego Bay to be specific. I smile when I say that because they came in and they're so excited to go to Montego Bay. I love it. They wanted to spend real money on real experiences and they don't want to feel guilty about it. Right now they did when they came in. So we built travel directly into their plan, a dedicated budget funded right from the accounts in a tax efficient way without touching the principal they would need later. So that guilt then disappeared because it wasn't an indulgence anymore. It was a line item. We just do that. We do the thing. So a planned, funded, and intentional part of their retirement became travel. That, folks, is what a real plan does. It doesn't just protect what you have. It makes room for what you actually want. So Tom and Linda, again, they came in stressed and they left with clarity. Sometimes I say people come in with anxiety and they leave with anticipation, or they come in with apprehension. You get it. And it's not because their situation was simple. It wasn't, but it's because for the first time ever, someone had looked at all of it together. And that is actually what the 6-point process is. Investments, retirement income, risk management, taxes, estate, and then custom goals, the real goals that you have. So if you're within 10 years of retirement and you have not had this conversation yet, that's exactly what you should do. And that's also what my firm does. So if this is something you want to talk to us about, shoot us a text, email us, reach out on social channels. Our text line is 585-485-0947. Send us a message there and make it a great day.
content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.